whoever you are, wherever you are, hope you are blessed and doing safe. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings, family. Of course, I'm tuning in. You see me without the glasses off today, but if you're looking for some opportunities, particular advertisement opportunities, then look no further at the link at the bottom to my email address. You can hit me up for advertisement opportunities. We are supporting and promoting your businesses here on this channel. You can also, if you would like to donate and subscribe to our Patreon, a link is at the bottom as well. So you have multiple ways in which you can advertise with the platform by emailing me when we go on do our live stream. You also have access to premium content. Those that want to see premium content that you will not find here on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, as I am suspended probably by now. You guys can check out the Patreon at link at the bottom. But advertisement opportunities, definitely email me, gavin.grich1@gmail.com for rates. And for the Patreon, it is the same as the YouTube channel. It is channel gboot2786. All right, I'll holla. Peace. Check out my latest book, The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. For approximately 2 years now, I have gone on a painstaking quest to investigate the rise and fall of an American icon, Bill Cosby. In the mid-1980s, there was not a star that was higher than Cosby. Advertisements with Coca-Cola, Jello, Kodak, along with the #1 television show for 5 straight years in a row. On Thursday nights, it was must-see TV on NBC. Cosby resurrected the genre of the traditional family sitcom that was once thought dead by television critics. He did this as a Black American with an all-Black cast and showed mainstream network executives in white America that it was possible to be successful without showing the worst in people. He also demonstrated the power that television had, as it can make younger people dream to be the best that they can be. However, like many celebrity stars, unfortunately, they all come crashing down, sometimes by their own fault, others not so much. In this book, I attempted to highlight certain things. We go in depth into both of his trials in 2017 and 2018, respectively. What if I told you that these criminal trials were politically motivated by an overzealous district attorney? Will you also be shocked to learn the attacks on Mr. Cosby did not start in 2014, but also in the 90s, not long after his attempted quest to purchase a major network? From where did all of these allegations of sexual misconduct come from? Were the accusers telling the truth? In the 2 years of research, with some help from others interested in learning the truth and facts about this case, we discussed both the legal reasons why his prosecution and trial were illegal, unwarranted, and also the possible personal motives as to why this may have occurred. Most importantly, we warn about the dangers of prejudice and why trial by social media, or mainstream media rather, should never be the norm. All this and more in The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby Jr., The Destruction of Due Process in America. Available on Amazon this fall in Kindle and paperback format. Available on Amazon and Kindle as we speak. Yes, right now, ladies and gentlemen, yes, I'm operating off camera right now. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yes, so, uh, yes, yes, uh, yes,
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, cause on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to feel your body moving. Gotta get up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop. I'll do the money house, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the river takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really moving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe, then you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7. This jam we appreciate. You're gonna slide and step on the beat. Dance floor is where we'll be.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor. Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the floor.
All right, everybody, let me ask you, thank you all for tuning in. I need to know if you can hear me. Am I muffled? I need to know now because my audio seems to be working. And if I need to go to my phone, I will. But okay. So if my sound is good, then we don't need to talk about anything else. Hold on a second. All right. Just give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. All right. All right. So we're doing better. What's going on, family? I don't know what's going on with that. Why this sounds muffled and why is that? I mean, yes, YouTube's kind of hating. I decided to move the show into my other room where I was of course where I was Thursday. That way you guys can hear me, but it wasn't that the music audio was janky. I am Floriny. Well, the reason why is because I didn't have it on mute when the music is playing, so that's why it was doing that. But let's go ahead and nonetheless, guys, let's get into it. I'm not appeared on camera today. Just didn't have time, and I want to always look sharp when I'm on here, or at least my best. But we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So I'll just start with this. Of course, the biggest news all this weekend, everywhere I was watching a television set, was about Roe v. Wade. You've seen so much of it on the news. It was even on damn Nickelodeon. They overturned Roe v. Wade. SpongeBob. Well, that's a Krabby Patty. I mean, it was everywhere. Well, and yesterday, I don't know. I'm sure most of my listeners here who watch and listen to the Black channel, you've probably heard me on not Professor Jason Black's channel, and we discussed several things and what abortion really was about. The fallout. When you can think about sex, as he pointed out, you don't think about anything else. And so more fallout has arisen as a result of this decision. And specifically, it's tied into all of the topics are really just tied into the same thing, or more liberal rights to fall as well. And liberal racism shows its faults. Now, shows its face. Now, it shows its farts too. Now, if you know anything about and I explained when I was on here Friday with Bishop Scott, and when I was on, I've talked about this many times before. Our legal system, has what's called checks and balances. Our legal system, of course, the judicial system, the judiciary, it interprets the law. The legislative branch passes the law, and the executive branch enforces the law. So, as the president's supposed to enforce the Constitution. As the Congress and House and the legislative branch, Congress is supposed to pass and create laws. And as the judicial branch, the Supreme Court interprets the law. And so many people it's been a straight mixed bag. We have people, of course, who strongly are in favor of abortion, who stand by it no matter what. And we also have people who do not stand by it and wanted it overturned. And in fact, a lot of people have been steadfast in New Orleans. The only abortion clinic just recently closed as a result of this Dobbs decision. Now, it's just been everywhere that they've been reporting this. Everywhere they've been reporting this and going wild with it since this decision came down. Now, I mean that. I mean, they're still talking about it. And you had people protesting. I want to show you this. This is why I can't take, and a lot of people don't take the left, these left-wing loonies. And and they got loonies on the right too. Don't get me wrong. This is not us against me against the left, but I'm against anything that's contrary to the rights of our people. Now, I want to show you this, brother. I had put this on my Twitter page and retweeted this, but this is what I saw yesterday. Someone actually posted this. This is at one of the rallies. They did a whole twerk fest in Dallas over for abortions. Ain't twerking with nothing, by the way. Who's reproducing with that? Or any of them, for that matter. Let me stop because even though I'm claiming copyright, fair use. Sure, we'll talk about that in a second. This is beyond. Yeah, you're absolutely right, Danielle. It is absolutely embarrassing to see this, but this is why you can't take nothing seriously, and a lot of people don't take the left seriously. It's all emotions. This is what I was talking about when I was on the show Friday. When it's all about emotions, nobody that comes in there. If you're trying to fight for something, you fight with your lawyers. You fight with some integrity. When people are out protesting, and I don't like, and I'm not comparing reproductive rights at all with the civil rights of Black people, but when you saw Dr. King, when you saw Ralph Abernathy and Andrew Young, all those people, they were all showing up in suits and ties marching. And here we got us, or they got themselves out there twerking to kill their baby. This is what they promote. I wouldn't lay down with any of these females. You know, there is something called I'm pro-choice. Yeah, I choose to sleep with who I want. I make a choice when I decide I'm gonna sleep with somebody. That's pro-choice. It damn sure wouldn't be this. Look at that. This is embarrassing. That dude trying to do that. I am rootless for my rights. So what we got to ask ourselves, especially as we look at this, and I asked the question, are more liberal rights to follow? So this is to follow. They've had protests everywhere. They had one even here in New Orleans. They had a guy who actually climbed on a bridge out in Missouri. The protest, was it in Missouri or was it in on Frederick Douglass Bridge? No, this was in D.C. So this was in Washington, D.C. And he did this to protest abortion. Now, I thought men had to stay out of choices with women's bodies. Oh yeah, that's what I said too yesterday. Was this was a way to rile up voters to get them voting on the right? Now I'm going to play another video in a second, but this is what these fools are doing. They're making themselves look. I'm for protesting and so forth. Don't get me wrong; they have freedom of speech to express themselves, but they're shutting down bridges and so forth. They, in cities and states, they're protesting outside, saying that, standing behind women. All of this, guys, as I said before and previously, the real reason why Roe v. Wade, two reasons why we have abortion, and also why Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court in the Dobbs versus Jackson's Women's Health Association case. Reason why abortion was created, especially if I don't know how many people are here that were born in the 60s or anything like that. But in that era and that time, because we've talked about it before, it was free love. And they talk about it, especially if you talk with your parents, if you talk with your aunts and uncles, especially who were born in the 50s, they know a little bit about obviously about the 60s and 70s. And that was especially that era of free, the thinking of free love, the era that you could go and lay down and sleep with whoever, whatever you want. And they pushed for the courts to make decisions about these cases. And as a result, many cases started to crumble. Many laws started to crumble. And what the Supreme Court said, and here's the part where we got to do ourselves a favor. We actually got to read in cases such as Roe v. Wade, what the Supreme Court decided with Norma McCorvey's case, because that was Jane Roe. They stated and held that the due process of the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution provides a fundamental right to privacy that protects a pregnant woman's liberty to abort her fetus, and that this right is not absolute and has to be balanced by the government's interest in protecting women's health and protecting prenatal life. Texas statutes making it a crime to procure an abortion violated this right. That was the holding in Roe v. Wade. And essentially what they were saying was that in Roe v. Wade was that there is a fundamental right, all of these rights you see under the umbrella of a fundamental right to privacy. And you're seeing that in other cases as well. They said that a woman has a right to choose to do whatever she wants with her body and put it under the test of strict scrutiny. Any law that, say, for instance, wants to restrict abortion would go to the Supreme Court and they would have to look at it from a strict scrutiny test. And now, with the Dobbs decision, the test has been, since this has changed, it is now what's called a rational basis test. There's something called strict scrutiny, intermediate scrutiny, and rational basis. When we're talking about strict scrutiny, it means any law that's on its face, for instance, that is discriminatory, for instance, anything that deals with the 14th Amendment, where we're talking about a racially insensitive law that prohibited Black people from getting fair housing, for instance. A law, let's say there was a law like that, and he alleged racial discrimination, or that would be a strict scrutiny test. Or if it challenges a fundamental right, as in this case, they said a fundamental right to privacy under the 14th Amendment. You see, the due process clause of the 14th Amendment guarantees. Now, this is what the due process clause says in and of itself. No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. That's the Fifth Amendment. I'm sorry. But it's actually in the 14th Amendment as well, because 14th Amendment is what regulates the states, meaning no state shall deprive or prohibit any person without life, liberty, or property, except and until they are required to get the due process of law. That is the text within the 14th Amendment. And we know from when you've had me come on here that the 14th Amendment actually is what protects people, was created to give Black Americans the right to citizenship. That's what this was about when it was drafted. So I'm sorry, I'm looking under due process clause, but this is the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of the citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. So, what they have stated is that there is a fundamental right to privacy. And here's the thing, when I talk about liberal rights, and you're hearing this especially with Clarence, with respect to Clarence Thomas, and we'll get to him in a second. Other cases, for instance, Other cases, for instance, that have been called into question. So there's fundamental right to privacy. That they use, that they said was brought. You also have other cases as well, such as Lawrence versus Texas, which struck down Texas's sodomy laws. They said any law that punished sodomy was considered unconstitutional under the concept of a right to privacy. Now, the Constitution of the United States and the Bill of Rights, which are under the Constitution, the amendments, do not explicitly include a right to privacy. Currently, no federal law takes a holistic approach to privacy regulation, which is, they're correct in that, yes, it does not give you, it does not state in the Constitution, for instance, Gavin Richard has a right not to have his, for the government to actually search his computer. However, you can raise those rights. And no, Roe v. Wade does not outlaw abortion. What Roe v. Wade did, you're absolutely right, Darius, is that it gave power back to the states. Under the 10th Amendment, as you know, states have rights. They have the right to do and regulate the laws that they can of that state. So in separate states, abortion is legal. But when we talk about the right to privacy, when you had the courts, and you had, especially a liberal court, won by, at that time, the one who decided the vote in Lawrence versus Texas, the man who wrote it, was actually, Kennedy. Kennedy is the one who's basically was the swing vote. Kennedy has always been the swing vote. He was the swing vote in Obergefell. He was the swing vote in Bush versus Gore. He swings differently from time to time. Before he left the Supreme Court, he actually upheld the 5-4 decision. He actually upheld the right of the baker in that situation with the baker out in Colorado who refused to bake LGBTQ cakes. He upheld his rights. But Kennedy writes these, he was the one who would write these opinions. Yeah, he was a swing vote ever since Sandro Day O'Connor retired back in 2006. Now, he voted to uphold the Boy Scouts of America's ban on homosexuals from being scoutmasters, but then he struck down Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act, and then he wrote in his Obergefell's decision, which they're also worried about because Clarence Thomas, and I'll talk about Uncle Clarence, he talked about that fact that the Supreme Court should review and look at Obergefell, Lawrence, and Griswold. So, can other liberal rights fall? Well, we also have to determine if precedent has been set, or can they regulate the opinions by the court? Can they actually just go ahead and overturn it right now? Well, no, they can't just overturn something like that now because, of course, there has to be some type of legal action that's brought forward, some type of action that a person would challenge their case through, obviously, the procedures from the state to federal level. Well, so what? Flannery. Supreme Court's opinions do matter. Well, I mean, it matters when it goes the way of in their favor. When Obergefell was made, when Roe v. Wade was made, they were happy about it. They said the Supreme Court made a great decision. Barack Obama praised Obergefell. He called the couple on the steps of the Supreme Court. What the Supreme Court is essentially saying is, states, do what you want. Now, what a lot of people don't know too, when it comes to the Obergefell decision, I just want to go back. There was actually a case back in the 70s called Baker versus Nelson, in which the Supreme Court, a gay couple actually tried to challenge restricting marriage licenses to persons of the opposite sex. That was actually in the case Baker v. Nelson that you see here. And in the Constitution in Minnesota, what they said. Have you been paying attention to my show? Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm going over everything. Everything in here I'm going over. Richard Baker versus Nelson. Now I'm still talking about the 14th Amendment and fundamental right to privacy. Why this all falls in there, and it's important that we discuss it because many people think that these cases will fall because of Clarence Thomas's remarks. Well, Norma McCorvey had lied, Brother Darius, about being raped by several black men, although that necessarily didn't have an impact on the case, although it was based on a lie. But Baker v. Nelson was a case that they previously had tried to overturn. Many of the state of Minnesota's law in its constitution, which said that marriage licenses can only be given to people of the opposite sex. And so that decision was upheld in the Minnesota Supreme Court, and subsequently in the United States Supreme Court, they dismissed the appeal for want of a substantial federal question. Now, of course, that time has changed. But could all of these, quote, fundamental rights fall? And that's where I'm getting at. We have to define what is a right and where do rights come from. Do rights come from men or do they come from God? You see, man, of course, changes his mind. Remember in the 1930s how in Germany, Hitler and members of the Nazi Party have written its laws where they defined that Jews were not persons. And that was how the liquidation of the Jews in Nazi Germany was able to take place. And the unborn were not considered persons, and still by some not considered persons. And so, just like in Dred Scott, blacks are not considered persons. Roger Cheney, who was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, he told Dred Scott, you had no standing to even come here because you are not a person. And the reason we have to be careful and define where rights come from and who decides that is because if rights come from man, we know, as we've seen in this case, because remember, Roe v. Wade was something acceptable when it was ruled by the Supreme Court in 1974 by, at that time, or 1973, excuse me. But then when we had And we have this time now, with this different Supreme Court, they've changed and said no, Roe v. Wade was an egregious decision. And that's where we are. Well, you're talking about voting rights out here. I mean, what did Barack Obama do when he was president for his first 2 years, where he could have actually gotten up and enforced that Voting Rights Act if he wanted to? He had a full Senate and Congress that was Democrat that could have done some things, but he sat on his hands and tucked them behind his back. We know where the Republicans can stand, and everybody that thinks that I'm just attacking Barack Obama, well, they could have gone at him. He could have done anything he wanted at that time. I know where the Republicans stand on these things. So it's already said and done that they don't care for us. However, I have seen in recent years, at least, they will talk to you and hear your points out. That's what Ice Cube was doing. Remember, we have the right to vote too under the 15th Amendment. But like I said, these things just don't fall. There has to be precedent, and it's going to take time. However, with this Supreme Court, if Clarence Thomas holds out, he's 75 now. I could see him staying on for a number of years. Could be about 7 or 8 more years of this. I don't see Joe Biden necessarily winning another election unless some type of miracle. But I think that this is an attempt to galvanize the Democratic base to go out and vote, although it ain't got a damn thing to do with us. It doesn't have a thing to do with me necessarily. 20 million black babies who have been aborted since the creation of Roe v. Wade and abortion. Margaret Sanger, we know she was a known and an avowed racist who vehemently wanted to abort black children. She considered children weeds. She went to Britain telling them to go and abort your children. And really, that's really what this is about, is that the numbers are going down. Now, that video I wanted to show you, and that's really what it's about. It's about the numbers. Their numbers. This is no longer going to be a majority white nation. And so they realize that their numbers are not going to be the same. So they didn't hide this video. When you see this, I want y'all to look at this video. At least they don't hide where they stand. Listen carefully to this. Have y'all seen this happened at a Trump rally? Save America. I want you to listen very carefully to what they said. Now, I don't know when it was taken, but looks like during his reelection. So this was during his reelection campaign. So this is what happened. This is on Tariq Nasheed's Twitter page. He retweeted this.
Supreme Court yesterday. President Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday. President Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday. President
White life.
Trump, on behalf of all the MAGA patriots in America, I want to thank you for the historic victory for life in the Supreme Court yesterday.
Okay, yeah, this was yesterday. I don't know why it still says President Donald Trump on it. He's not president, but yeah.
far left would even admit that it was a terrible decision for a woman to have to make if she had to make the decision to have an abortion, and that it affects the woman, it affects the child, obviously in irreversible ways. But now it seems to be championed in a way, and people are advocating for you to have an abortion as opposed, Nicole, to giving you the choice to choose whatever you want. It's terrible, and it honestly seems like there's a moral decay that is set in our society, and I think it's contributed to some of that.
And you've seen this, David.
Long ago,
What?
that even people who are
This is trending. Well, you know, Fox News doesn't screen their anchors. That made no sense. But you also saw, now that racism was blatant, that you just saw in that video at that rally. But then you also saw the racism from, you're seeing the racism from the liberals. Now, look at this. Tariq Nasheed has this, and I'm no fan of Clarence Thomas, but you have people putting all of this up here on Clarence Thomas. Now, I'm no Uncle Clarence fan. I think Clarence Thomas is an embarrassment to black people. However, Clarence Thomas was not the only one who cast that vote on Friday, although he cast it before that, but y'all get what I'm saying. Step off, Hotep. Now look at Carolyn. She's got the peace. Notice they got the symbol for peace here, but she's being aggressive. Step off, Hotep. This is not your lane. Peace, a bush, LGBTQ. That's the transgender flag. These white liberals, so this happened to Tariq. These white liberals are showing their anti-black racism over this Roe v. Wade decision, but many of them were already like that. Like this woman here told me to go F myself a couple of years ago because I criticized the trope that black women were bigots for not dating bisexual men. And Clarence Thomas, they've been coming at him, especially he had stuff from this, he calls them tethers, but this man, Tukach Shakur, says, I hate that the Klan didn't lynch this piece of shit's ancestors. What a useless fucking group. Now, he said this back in 2014. So I don't know if this is currently, there's no date and timestamp on the first one, although it's a trending timeline. But there were a lot of people who were coming at Clarence Thomas that I saw on the news everywhere for his comments in his concurring remarks on overturning Roe v. Wade. Now, a lot of people have asked, will Clarence Thomas, I mean, even Samuel Jackson takes a shot at Clarence Thomas. A lot of people are asking, will Loving versus Virginia be challenged by Clarence Thomas in the Supreme Court? Because he's married to George Bush's cousin, his second wife. So some people are protesting. This one woman says they're speaking out, these celebrities. A lot of these celebrities, you know for a fact, don't read these questions, don't read these opinions. Actor Samuel Jackson took a race bait shot at U.S. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, and rocker Billy Joe Armstrong says he's renouncing his U.S. citizenship over the striking down of Roe v. Wade. Never heard of you. Jackson called the conservative justice Uncle Clarence in reference to his compliant slave in Uncle Tom's Cabin, the classic novel by Harriet Beecher Stowe. By the way, Uncle Tom actually was the hero in the book. It was Sambo that was the villain. But I get what Sam Jackson is saying. How's Uncle Clarence feeling about overturning Loving versus Virginia? They also talked about Griswold versus Connecticut, which was about allowing married couples to access birth control. These people, I got to tell you something. Reason why I talk about this stuff is because celebrities are part of pop culture. The public, the American public in particular, we celebrate and hold celebrities to a high esteem. Whatever they do. And so the liberal races, we see these liberals only will stand up and speak up for you when you're on their side, when you can do something for them. And people like Maxine Waters, people like the Congressional Black Caucus, Jim Clyburn, Barbara Jackson, Sheila Jackson Lee, all of them, Ralphie Warnock, we all vote for them. They get reelected time and time again. They don't promise you anything. They don't give you any tangibles. And watch what's going to happen with the result of this being overturned. Somehow or another, this is what I believe. They're going to twist it around and say that black people were part of this. Black people are causing this because we didn't vote. We didn't go out and vote out Donald Trump. Watch what's going to. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly how they tied it in. They tried to tie it in remember when Trump got elected, they tied it into the fact that black people didn't go out to vote. But hell, what did you give black people a reason to vote for? And before you say, well, you got to go because your ancestors did this, every group's ancestors did something. Our ancestors fought wars for this country as well. They fought wars for this country. And then when they came back, like my grandfather, both of my grandfathers who fought in World War II, they weren't allowed to use the same bathrooms as their white comrades. They had to drink from separate water fountains. My ancestors fought for me to be free. And in life, and here's the truth about stuff, we can't do everything that we want. This other lesson we can learn from this is that you're not going to win all the time. There have been decisions by courts that I had, I'm an attorney. There have been decisions by judges I strongly disagreed with that impacted the freedom of my client. And while I may have appealed it and handled it, yes, there's a process for that. Sometimes it's stuck. The point being, you're not going to win all the time. You're not going to have your way all the time. And realistically, it's a good thing some of this stuff is happening because we can see how divided we are as a nation and where we're going and what's wrong with this country and why things are broken, why the family is broken. With this overturn, I also want to challenge the conservatives. Since you fought hard to overturn it, fine, you overturned it. Now, create some programs. If you're at Value Life, create some programs that are going to help these young ladies with babies that they struggle with, teenage pregnancy and so forth. We can have programs that can help them with that. And yes, there have been, and I will say in fairness, there have been people privately, private institutions that have provided options for mothers who to avoid getting an abortion. Can you create jobs? Can we build our neighborhoods? Something else I've noticed, especially in Black communities, you notice there's a Planned Parenthood in these communities, but never a fertility clinic. You got to go to the white neighborhoods to go to the fertility clinic if you go there. It is stressful being Black, but you know what? God is Black. Whenever God descended on the mountaintop, remember, it turned into a black cloud. God called his son out of Africa. Remember that, Danielle? He called his son out of Egypt. Y'all never forget that. Moses was an Egyptian prince. They're not. Traditionally, they're not. George Carlin did do a joke about that, but George Carlin also joked that, have you ever noticed that the women who are opposed to abortion are the ones you wouldn't F in the first place? You know, George Carlin was one of my favorite comedians of all time, but he was staunchly liberal. But, you know, he would also poke fun. He would also poke fun at, you know, cultures that were, you know, people that were insensitive about stuff. He had no respect for religion. He had no respect for he had no respect for really authority. If he were alive today, I don't think he would like the cancel culture that he's seen. People getting insensitive over jokes, comedians losing their jobs over that. I'm confident he would actually go harder. And you know, in the same light, Bernie Mac would go hard too. Don't stress about being Black, sis. Be ready. Yeah. I mean, Richard Pryor. And I can say most of the comedians I know personally, especially being in this field, is mostly, you know, especially New Orleans, it's extremely liberal. Uh, it's I would say, ultra. You know, ever heard that term, ultra conservative? It's ultra liberal about certain things. Although privately, some people might be opposed to stuff. I haven't done abortion jokes on the stage or nothing like that. Just not in my cerebral vortex. But you know, I will see these feminists, I'll see feminist comedians who are feminists who will get on the stage and talk jokes about that. But that's why I wanted to talk about this stuff. It was important to discuss this. And you know, they're not hiding what they want. I mean, I've seen some tweets where people say they want to, someone wrote on Twitter that they want to see Plessy versus Ferguson overturned. You know, Plessy versus, I mean, Brown versus Board of Education overturned. Well, Brown versus Board of Education, while it overturned segregation in schools, the problem too, next that happened with that is that the schools still stayed segregated. They still stayed segregated. Schools are still segregated now. The schools are still segregated. The colleges and universities we go to, although I think a lot of the HBCUs now are growing more, they're getting a lot of white students, but a lot of the HBC, uh, the schools now are still segregated. The public schools are certainly segregated. The rich get the best education, they get the best health care, they get the best representation. The poor don't. It's the opposite of what the rich get. You know, I know Dr. Short was happy, but Randy Short was happy about this being overturned. I mean, I was just watching the Facebook page and seeing all of my Facebook friends go nuts. All my liberal friends going nuts. I've been watching it. We got people that want to delete, that are deleting each other, people fighting over this, and this don't even concern you. But that's what goes on in this. And with that, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm actually gonna start doing a collaboration with some people next time. Yeah, HBCUs won't be predominantly black for long. HBCUs may not be in existence, Danielle, if they don't get funding. Right. Well, they actually had black-owned bus companies during the Montgomery bus boycott, and once the boycott started, once they got that, once it was overturned, segregation was overturned in public busing in 1955. Uh, everybody flocked to the white bus system. The black bus system crumbled and failed. They had it all over the city. They had it in different cities too. I think they even had it here in Baton Rouge when the Baton Rouge bus boycott started. There were black owned taxi companies. So I'm gonna roll out, guys. But make sure y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe button, and please donate to that Cash App. I got a question for you. Just curious, is anybody gonna be watching the BET Awards or EBT Awards? I call them. They're gonna be hood shit. And Lil Nas X punk ass was complaining about not being nominated when he got pictures of himself urinating on a BET Award. I don't really care for him anyway. We still needed we still needed those laws overturned, Jim Crow laws, because first off, as an attorney, I work with the state. I work as a PD. I would have to go through the back entrance if that were the case. No, I don't think that should have worked. Yeah, they're on. BT is not even owned by blacks anymore, as everybody knows. BT can kick rocks. Yeah, BT doesn't even have quality. Forget that. BT doesn't even have good quality programming. Yes, I saw that. I've seen a couple videos where some white boys got slapped for calling a black man a nigger. Had no idea it was on. Most people don't. Taraji P. Henson is hosting it. Remember, I said this, guys. Most award shows are not as popular as they were 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago, 15, even 15 and 10 years ago. When people stopped watching the Oscars 10 years ago, people stopped watching Soul Train Awards. I stopped watching I still watch BT. I watched the Martin Lawrence reunion special that was on. That was pretty cool. But I don't have any interest. I may pass back and forth to it, but am I gonna sit and watch it? No. I could watch Evil. I could watch The Old Man. I can watch a bunch of crap, bunch of shit that's good. I can do something productive. Most of the time I watch it. The reason why I watch some of these shows is just so I could get material and truthfulness. That's why I watch it. But if something goes down, of course you could always watch it on. You could always watch it on YouTube. If something goes down, people will post it up very quickly on YouTube or Twitter. It's going to trend. Yeah, that court case was Syracuse versus Carolina Coach Company, which banned the segregation of black passengers in buses traveling across state lines. And the lady who filed it was Sarah Louise Key. She was a member of the Women's Army Corps. YouTube has completely. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm looking at my YouTube channel, and when I have everything I've worked for, my Cash App, my cash, my dollar signs, they demonetize this. I'm so sick of this crap. I wonder if Lizzo's gonna be there. Somebody go watch. There's gonna be a abortion. There's gonna be an abortion. Some type of abortion thing. Some type of movement mentioned on BT. So I'm just put it in the chat on the YouTube channel. Who's watching? You watching the BT Awards? Give me a yes or no. Just let me know, guys. We're gonna roll out of here though in a minute, but y'all be mindful about this stuff, man. I'm telling y'all, get your weaponry game up, step your Second Amendment game up. No, go to the YouTube page, gboot2786, go to the poll. Oh, we got one person that said they're going to watch it. Yeah, so a bunch of y'all have some answers. Pickle got a beta mail. Oh, Lizzo. Yeah, Lizzo actually is donating $1 million to any. I think she's donating $1 million to anyone that needs to be reimbursed for traveling to go get an abortion. So it's mostly nays. Nobody's gonna be watching it. All right, y'all. Well, be sure to go to the Kindle page on Amazon and look up The Commonwealth of Pennsylvania versus William H. Cosby. Buy it on Kindle, ladies and gentlemen. I always ask you if you can to donate to the Cash App, the Cash App, PayPal, or the Zelle or Venmo to support me. As you know, the channel is not monetized. YouTube has taken away our channel monetization. I ask that you please donate whatever you could support. You see it right there. Also, check out our Creole seasoning blend. Try it on chicken, meat, or fish. And on this goes great with every dish. Danielle, you should have gotten your seasoning by now. Let me know if you enjoy it. Just shoot me an email. All right, and we got Get On Up as well as Video Soul that's available. Of course, our theme song for the show has always got to get on up. So please be sure to purchase that, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go ahead and get on up. I'll see y'all in the next one.
Girl, come on. Gotta dance to the beat, cause on the dance floor is where we'll meet. Show me what you got. Gotta feel the groove.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Right now the party's wasted. There's nothing much to do. But once the groove gets started, tell me, what do you have to lose? Just look into my eyes, girl, as we glide across the room. And what to my surprise now, the beat takes hold of you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really moving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Tell the DJ play the whispers. Rock steady in the mood. Put on earth, wind, and fire. Tonight we're gonna groove. Show me how you do the four corners. Electric slide or two. Hit the bus stop or do the bunny hop, baby. It's really up to you. Now if you're feeling like I'm feeling, so come on baby, let's start dealing. Time to get this party started. Ain't no time for the broken hearted. When the rhythm takes hold of you, there's only one thing left to do. Cause the beat is really grooving. Time to get your body moving. Gotta get on up and move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on the.
Now, 2020 hasn't been the best year of all times. We've been dealing with death, the pandemic, racism, bad policing, and all the bad rhymes. But like Uncle Snoop once said, if you breathe and you achieve. And so, if you're ready, I need you all to get on up. Are you ready? 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Get your butt on the dance floor. 5 and 6 and 7, 8. This jam we appreciate. We're gonna slide and step on the beat. On the dance floor is where we'll
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up
And move your body. Cause when the beat is really grooving, it's time to feel your body moving. Gotta get on up and shake something.
Feel the groove, get on the floor.
Get on up, baby. Yeah, gotta get on up. Come on, baby, gotta get on up, baby.
Feel the groove, get on the floor. Get on up.